Man, buying cars these days is scary. You think brands like Jaguar, Range Rover, or Chevrolet, known for their sleek designs and luxury vibe, would deliver solid, reliable cars, but nope, they've managed to roll out some of the most unpredictable rides out there. And today, we're counting down the top 20. Let's get into it. Number 20. Would it even be possible to talk about unreliable cars without talking about the Range Rover? So let's just get it over with. And where do I even start? They're the luxury SUVs that everyone wants to love, but they've got reliability issues so bad, it's almost their brand. Take the 2022 L405 Range Rover. Warranty-wise, it was named the most unreliable car of the year. The average repair bill, 1,607 pounds. And the highest, a jaw-dropping 23,890 pounds. That's a new car's worth of repairs. The Range Rover, look, it's my favorite car, but it's well known that they suffer from numerous issues. How can a car that costs over $200,000 be so unreliable? Range Rovers, like all other modern vehicles, rely heavily on electronic systems for various things. Unfortunately, this increased reliance on electronics gives rise to a common complaint: electrical problems. Malfunctions in the infotainment systems, sensors, and other electrical components are frustrating and can be costly to fix. And don't get me started on used ones. They're cheap for a reason. Half of them are just waiting to bankrupt their next owner. Range Rovers, look, they're beautiful to look at, expensive to keep. Think twice, my friends. Number 19, the Jaguar F-Pace. First up, the timing chain. Now, look, the newer 2L engines that replace the older 2.2 Ford engines come with a rather nasty surprise. Somewhere between 70 to 100,000 miles, that timing chain, it starts to slack off. And look, when it goes, it's not just a little hiccup. We're talking catastrophic engine damage. Fixing it, that's an engine-out job, meaning labor costs that'll make your eyes water. Poor maintenance schedules and cheap oils just speed up the inevitable. So unless you've got a love for surprise repair bills, tread carefully. And then there's the gear selector. It's fancy, right? A smooth little knob that rises up when you switch the car on. Until, well, it doesn't. Over time, the mechanism, it likes to call it quits, leaving you stranded and calling for a tow. Sure, it's not the most expensive fix in the world, but good luck explaining that repair bill to your wallet when it breaks down at the worst possible moment. And let's not forget the turbos. If you're diligent about using high-quality oils and sticking to a proper service schedule, they'll do their job just fine, but many owners don't, and that's when things go south. Abuse the turbo with cheap maintenance, and they'll let you know in the form of hefty repair costs. Number 18, the Nissan Rogue. Now, I'm not saying this SUV is cursed, but if I were you, I wouldn't bet my wallet on it either. Why? Well, let's dive into it. Buck Tanner style. Dad jokes, brutal honesty, and a pinch of car-loving truth. First up, the engine. Now, Nissan thought it'd be cool to slap in a 3-cylinder turbocharged engine with some fancy variable compression technology. It sounds impressive, right? Yeah, until you realize that this so-called innovation has a knack for blowing itself up. Internal bearings and linkages go kaput, leading to power loss or worse, complete engine failure. It's like buying a racehorse that decides to nap halfway through the track. Then there's a CVT, Nissan's infamous continuously vulnerable transmission. These things feel faster than my attempts at dieting. You'll get vibrations, sluggish acceleration, or the dreaded "I'm not moving" syndrome. Replacing one of these will drain your savings quicker than your kid's online gaming habit. And some sketchy evap issues too. Crankshaft, sensor failures, axle problems, and look, you've got yourself a mechanical soap opera. So if you're eyeing a Rogue, maybe just lease it. Commitment is overrated anyway. Number 17. All right, let's talk about the Ford Bronco Sport, or as I like to call it, the Bronco's underachieving cousin. Under the hood, you've got a 1.5-liter 3-cylinder EcoBoost engine. It sounds high-tech, right? Yeah, until you realize that you're relying on a dollar store flashlight to light up a stadium. The engine's got a rap sheet longer than your last CVS receipt. Fractured fuel injectors that might give you a bonfire you didn't ask for, head gasket failures, overheating, and, turbo failures for that extra spice. So now, if you're thinking, well, I'll just get it fixed under warranty. Well, good luck. You'll be waiting for a dealership appointment longer than you'll wait for the next Marvel reboot. Hey, meanwhile, your Bronco Sport is just sitting there, looking all proud while it's actually crying on the inside. And here's the kicker. Ford had the audacity to build this thing in Mexico. Nothing against hardworking folks down there, but when you're paying $7 a day to assemble a car, let's just say quality control, it's not top-notch. And don't even get me started on the noise issues. A customer says their brand new Bronco Sport started whining at 800 miles. It's like the car is throwing a tantrum because it knows what's coming. Bottom line, if you're shopping for something reliable, just keep on walking. Number 16, the GMC Sierra and Chevrolet Silverado. The GMC Sierra and Chevy Silverado. They're names that once stood for durable, trustworthy trucks. But lately, they're like that old friend who's always late but swears they'll do better next time. Now, these trucks pack some serious issues under the hood, and no amount of chrome and fancy marketing can hide it. Let's start with the engine, shall we? Both the 5.3-liter and 6.2-liter Ecotec 3 engines come with something called a cylinder deactivation system. It sounds cool, but you're wrong. This system's supposed to save fuel by switching off some cylinders when they're not needed. It's a great idea on paper, but in reality, it's like playing Jenga with your engine components. Those lifters are the weak link, and when they fail, which they often do, you're looking at serious engine damage. Ticking noises, misfires, rough idling, you name it. It's like your truck's trying to tell you, hey buddy, I need help here. Then there's the transmission. Oh boy, GM's 8-speed and 10-speed automatics have a knack for ruining your morning drive. Hard shifts, delayed engagement, and random jerks during gear changes. You think the truck's got a personality disorder. Some owners even had to replace their entire transmission, which isn't just a hit to your wallet, it's a gut punch. And let's not forget the build quality issues. Misaligned doors, uneven panel gaps, and interiors that look nice at first but wear out faster than a cheap pair of shoes. And the leaks? Your sunroof and window seals will let water in like they're trying to turn your truck into an aquarium. If moldy upholstery sounds like your thing, hey, you're gonna love it here. Despite all this, though, people still love these trucks. They're comfy, they're powerful, and stylish. A dream on the highway if you can overlook the nightmares under the surface. But if you're looking for something reliable, maybe keep shopping. You'll thank yourself later. Number 15, the Volkswagen Tiguan. Now that 1.5-liter turbocharged engine, that sounds fancy, doesn't it? Turbocharged, but here's the thing. It's got a bit of a self-destructive streak. We're talking fuel system failures, leaks, and sometimes just outright engine failure. And when that happens, you're not going anywhere. It's like owning a drama queen that decides when it wants to perform. Now let's get into the transmission. Now, the dual-clutch automatic on the all-wheel drive models is infamous, and I mean infamous. Premature failure, rough shifting. It's like the gearbox is auditioning for a role in a horror film. You're driving along, and then suddenly it's lurching, groaning, and you're wondering if you're in control or just a passenger on the nightmare ride. Oh, and we can't skip the electrical issues, because what's a Volkswagen without some electrical drama? Long-term ownership of a Tiguan can feel like being in a never-ending relationship counseling session. Number 14. Now this bad boy's rocking the infamous Theta 2 engine. You know, the one that practically is a meme at this point. Metal shavings in the oil? Check. Bottom end issues? Oh, absolutely. This engine's got a reputation worse than my uncle's barbecue skills. So here's the deal. Hyundai, for their infinite wisdom, managed to leave metal shavings floating around during manufacturing. Those shavings clog up oil galleys faster than a frat house sink. Ugh, starving the engine of lubrication. And you know what happens next? Rod knock, seized bearings, or if you're lucky, the whole thing, it just grenades. It's like a mechanical soap opera. Drama from every angle. Now, I hook up a jump starter, I turn the key, and instead of a healthy rumble, I'm greeted with a sound that can only be described as a sewing machine chic. No compression. Yeah, that's right. None of the cylinders want to play ball. Timing chain? Loose enough to double as a jump rope. And don't even get me started on the potential valve damage if this thing jumped teeth. So why is this car unreliable? Well, let me count the ways. Overheating issues, poor timing components, and the ever-present threat of catastrophic engine failure. Fixing it? Well, sure, it's possible, but between gaskets, oil, coolant, and maybe a new engine altogether, you're looking at more money than sense. The moral of the story? Well, if you see a Hyundai or Kia with a Theta 2 engine, do yourself a favor and walk away. Or actually, run. Number 13, the Toyota 2.2 D-Cat. Now, you'd think with 177 horsepower and a solid 195 pounds per foot of torque, it'd be a dream for the road, right? Wrong. Now, let's just say this engine brings enough drama to qualify for a soap opera. First, we've got the fumigation issue. Yeah, fumigation. The engine pumps out so much smoke that you think it's auditioning to be a fog machine. The diesel particulate filter, or the DPF, doesn't stand a chance. It clogs up faster than rush hour traffic, and when it does, you're looking at a repair bill that could fund a small getaway. $1,500 to $2,500, depending on how fancy your mechanic is. And then there's the head gasket design, or lack thereof. Try removing the cylinder head, and you're left with scars so deep they often demand a complete head replacement. Cost? Oh, just a casual $2 to $4 grand. No big deal. Number 12, the Subaru 2.0D from 2008 to 2020. The Subaru 2.0D, aka Subaru's late-to-the-party diesel engine experiment from 2008 to 2020. Now, Subaru is famous for being stubborn. They'll look at what everyone else is doing and go, nah, we're going to stick with what we know. Enter the Boxer engine, their signature move. Cool idea, sure, but when they slapped it onto a diesel, not so much. Now here's the scoop. The 2.0-liter diesel is rev-hungry, which is like asking a diesel to act like a turbocharged squirrel on Red Bull. It's not built for that life. And then there's the maintenance nightmare. Those injectors, they wear out faster than your patience in rush hour. Replacing one will run you anywhere between $300 and $1,100. And don't even get me started on the soot buildup. It's like the engine's been chain smoking. Your DPF clogs up, and then you're cleaning and replacing it, and it can cost you another $1,000 or $3,000. Ouch. Sure, it had potential, but let's just call it what it is: a headache. It's one of those engines that makes you question your life choices every time you hear the mechanic's estimate. Subaru's 2.0D, more like Subaru's do not recommend. Number 11, one of the dumbest designs Cadillac ever put out, the Northstar V8 engine. Now, don't get me wrong, when it works, it's got power and it's smooth, but the problem? It doesn't work for long, thanks to those shallow aluminum threads in the engine block. Yeah, whoever thought steel bolts into aluminum would hold up under pressure deserves a medal for worst engineering decision of the decade. Now, here's the deal. Those threads strip out faster than you could say head gasket. And once that happens, the gasket blows. And fixing it? Oh, you're looking at anywhere from $2,400 to $4,500 if you're lucky. Some mechanics will just straight up tell you to replace the engine. That would set you back $6,000 to $7,000. Meanwhile, the car itself is probably worth about half that on a good day. See the problem here? Now, let's add insult to injury. This engine is mounted traversely, which is a fancy way of saying it's crammed in there tighter than a family of 5 in a compact car. Changing a starter or AC compressor? Good luck. You'll be cursing Cadillac engineers by the end of it. Sure, there's a fix. You can install head studs from Northstar Performance, which actually work, but let's be real. Most people aren't going to drop thousands to fix a car that they bought off Craigslist for $2,000. And that's why you see these things listed for dirt cheap. People know the deal. Buy it, drive it till it dies, and then move on. Number 10, the Mazda RX-8. The heart of this beauty, the 1.3 Renesas rotary engine. Now, Mazda will tell you it's a marvel of engineering. It's lightweight, powerful, and super innovative, but let's be real. It's a ticking time bomb with a thirst that puts frat boys at a kegger to shame. Let's start with the apex seals, the little devils responsible for keeping the rotary engine's magic alive. Spoiler alert, they don't last. Poor lubrication, and we're talking pour oil directly into the gas tank levels of pour. Means that these things will wear out faster than cheap tires on a drag strip. And when they go, we'll say hello to a $1,500 to $2,000 repair bill. That's right, you're not just fixing an engine, you're making a donation to your mechanic's vacation fund. And don't even get me started on the fuel and oil consumption. This thing guzzles gas and burns oil like it's going out of style. You'll be topping off the oil more often than you're topping off your coffee. And let's be clear, if you're the kind of person who hates shopping at gas stations, this car will make you hate life. But wait, there's more. Carbon buildup is another fun feature of the RX-8 experience. Drive it gently, and it'll reward you with power loss and compression issues. Basically, this car's engine thrives on chaos. Take it to 9,000 RPM, or don't bother driving it at all. Number 9, the Renault 2.2 DCI engine. A beast with potential, but let me tell you, it's a roller coaster you probably don't want to ride. Imagine strapping a jet engine to a paper airplane. Sure, it'll fly, but not for long. First off, the power and fuel economy on this thing are pretty decent. It's like finding a gourmet burger in a fast food joint, but then the problems start rolling in faster than your mechanic's invoices. Weak head gasket? Check. That's right. This bad boy loves to leak coolant like it's auditioning for a water fountain commercial. And you know what that means? Overheating. Fixing it? Oh, just a casual $600 to $2,000. No big deal, right? Right? Yeah, right. All right, let's talk about the fuel injectors. Sensitive? Absolutely. They're the snowflakes of the car world. A little dirt or subpar fuel, and they're ready to tap out. And replacing them? You better start selling plasma right now. Now here's where it gets rich, Renault says. Change the oil every 18,000 miles. Ha! Owners quickly found out that if you don't cut that in half, you're essentially fast-tracking the engine to an early grave. And by the time that you hit 35,000 miles, you may as well invest in a bike. It'll be more reliable. Number 8, the Fiat Fiorino 1.3 van, or its badge twins, the Citroën Nemo and Peugeot Bipper. Now, don't be fooled by the different names. They're still under the same hood, engine, gearbox, chassis, all identical. So whether you're eyeing one or you already own one, buckle up because I'm about to give you a heads up on what to check before things go south. First up, the timing chain. This is a 1.3 chain-driven engine, so let me tell you, it's not something you want to mess around with. Start the van cold, and if you hear a rattle for a few seconds, that's your chain begging for mercy. It's stretched, and if it snaps, just say goodbye to your engine. Think of it as a ticking time bomb. Silent means safe, rattling means trouble. Next, the turbo. When you fire it up from cold, But keep an eye on the exhaust. If you see white smoke, that's your turbo waving the white flag. It'll start gobbling up oil faster than you can top it off. Check the oil level religiously, and if it's low or you spot leaks around the turbo, you've got a problem. Then we've got the injectors. These can get pricey to fix, and you'll notice trouble if the engine isn't idling smoothly. Pop the bonnet and look for fuel pooling around the injectors. If it's wet, then that's your cue to start saving for repairs. Let's not forget the strut mounts too. These hold your suspension in place. When they're shot, you'll hear clunking noises when steering. Turn the wheel side to side and listen closely. Clunk, clunk? Yeah, that's a bad strut mount. Now, the gear lever, if it feels like it's stirring porridge in neutral, it's likely worn out. It's not the end of the world to fix, but it's a headache you'd rather avoid. Number 7, the Ford 1.5-liter and 2.0-liter EcoBoost engines, a pair that's got more drama than my cousin's second divorce. Now, these engines show up at some of Ford's big names, like the Bronco Sport, but calling them reliable is like calling a microwave gourmet. Just ain't true. Owners say that the engine is a can of worms, and boy, they aren't kidding. Rattling? Check. Oil leaks? Double check. And if you're unlucky, those leaks can light up your engine. Literally. Now, even after warranty replacements, some engines just refuse to behave, leaving folks stranded with no start. Twice. Braking at lower speeds? Feels like riding a bucking Bronco. 3,000 RPM spikes before the car finally settles down. Ford dealers might tell you, it's just the vehicle's character, but we know flaws when we see them. If you want reliability, steer clear of this mess. Number 6, the 2021 Chevy Suburban's 5.3-liter Ecotec 3 V8 might look like the ultimate family hauler, but oh boy, trust me, it's got a skeleton in the closet. And that skeleton is called lifters. Yes, lifters, the part that's supposed to keep your engine running smoothly. GM went with these flimsy plastic keepers to hold the lifters in place. It's like asking a toothpick to hold up a bridge. When these break, and oh do they break, the lifters wander, the camshaft gets chewed to bits, and your engine basically becomes a glitter factory, spitting metal shards everywhere. It's an oil flow disaster just waiting to happen. Fixing it? A cool $4,000 or more. I'd say stick to the classics like an old SB350, because the Ecotec 3 is all show and no go. Number 5, the 2018 Jeep Wrangler. It's a mixed bag of brilliance and heartbreak. Now, don't get me wrong, on a good day, it purrs like a dream, delivering solid performance. But here's where the road gets bumpy. The Totally Integrated Power Module, or TIPM. Imagine this thing as the nerve center of your Wrangler, controlling everything from the fuel pumps to your power windows and even the throttle. When it's working, great. When it's not, well, your Jeep's playing dead. Fuel pumps stop pumping, headlights turn into decorations, and your radio, it goes AWOL. Oh, and fixing it? That'll be $1,500. Thank you very much. And then there's the throttle position sensor. If this guy decides to quit, say goodbye to smooth acceleration. Instead, your Jeep jerks around like a teenager learning stick shift. And let's talk maintenance. This isn't your average change the oil and go setup. You've got to service the transfer case and differentials regularly, or you'll be bleeding cash on repairs faster than a Wrangler burns through fuel. So reliable? Not exactly. Fun to drive? Oh, absolutely, if you've got the patience and the wallet for it. Number 4, the Alfa Romeo 2.0 Twin Spark 16V. An engine as dramatic as an Italian opera. But let me tell you, this thing's got more mood swings than my neighbor's cat. Produced between 1995 and 2010, this baby was a true icon for enthusiasts who appreciated its performance and charm. This engine thrives on pampering. Think high-quality oil and frequent changes. You skip those, and you're on a one-way trip to Problem Town. And cold starts? Don't even think about gunning it first thing in the morning. You push it hard when it's still waking up, and you might end up with a repair bill that'll make you question your life choices. The Twin Spark is like a diva. You treat it right, and it sings. Neglect it, and you'll be stranded on the side of the road, wondering why you ever fell for its charm. Owning one isn't for the faint of heart, but hey, for those who get it, the love affair apparently is worth every tantrum. Number 3, the Saab 2.0 and 2.3 turbo engines. What a tale of high hopes and heartbreak. These bad boys promise speed and excitement, but owning one, it's like dating someone who's a little too high maintenance. Sure, the turbo kicks in and it feels like you're driving a jet, but just for about 5 minutes. Then it's back to the garage. Here's the deal. Heat is their kryptonite. The front of the engine block overheats like it's auditioning for a sauna, and the turbocharger's insulation, let's just say it's as effective as a paper umbrella in a storm. That heat doesn't just stay put either. It messes with the crankshaft bearings, which can lead to catastrophic engine damage. Fun times, right? And let's not forget the oil sludge issues. Skipping an oil change with these engines is like skipping leg day at the gym. It'll catch up with you, and it won't be pretty. Without obsessive maintenance, these engines struggle to see 39,000 miles before throwing in the towel. Reliable? Not exactly. Thrilling? For a moment. A wallet drainer? Absolutely. Number 2. Oh, the Skoda Octavia A7, a car for the practical dreamer, right? Well, now let me tell you why it's a bit like that unreliable friend that promises a lot but shows up late to every party. First up, the 1.6 engine paired with a manual transmission, conservative. It's like ordering plain vanilla at an ice cream shop that's got 31 flavors. Sounds like me, actually. Anyways, sure, the automatic transmission is a champ, and it's rock solid for the first 300,000 kilometers or so, but the manual, oh boy, it gets moody. Think weird clutch noises and a fork damper that acts up more often than a toddler skipping nap time. Reliable? Number 1, the Jaguar E-Pace. First off, owners report that 33% of these bad boys have some sort of problem. That's 1 out of 3. Imagine buying a car and rolling the dice on whether the gearbox or sat-nav system decides to take a vacation. Oh, and when these things break, nearly half of them end up stuck in a garage for more than a week. It's not just a hiccup, that's a full-on cough that won't quit. The drivetrain's a mixed bag too. You've got a 2.0-liter gasoline engine pushing 249 or 300 horsepower, and diesel engines offering anywhere from 150 to 240 ponies. It sounds solid, right? Well, here's the kicker. The turbocharged engine loves oil. We're talking 100 to 200 grams per 1,000 kilometers. And Jaguar says, yeah, that's normal. Normal? For who? A car that's thirsty like a teenager at its first party? And let's not forget the electronics. Keyless entry sometimes forgets you're the owner. The panoramic roof mechanism jams, and the nav system throws tantrums until you update the software. Oh, and if you don't drive it regularly, the battery's like, oh, cool, I'm just going to die now. Current leakage and self-discharge issues mean that you've got to babysit the thing more than a hyper puppy. But hey, look, let's give credit where it's due. The E-Pace does have some redeeming qualities. The body's solid, thanks to the mix of aluminum and steel, so corrosion's not a big concern. Plus, the all-wheel drive system is reliable, when it's working, of course. But then you've got the suspension, which is about as durable as a cheap lawn chair if you take it off-road too often. And replacing parts? Expensive.